Problem is, it could take time to get through the Sicha. Moirdike Sicha. Um, so let's get straight into it. Ve'yomer Hashem al Moshe, Adoni Yinatzunu Yom Hazeh. After the Eden complained with the eagle and they cried, David said, Adona Yinatzuni Yom Hazeh v'Adona lo yaminu bi v'chol ha'osis asher osisi b'kirbai. How long will it be that the people will upset me and will not have amuna, trust in me, although I showed them so many oasis? You know what David says? Akenu v'adever v'orishenu es oitzcha lagoy godel otzum emenu. Echwan al-Islam, the Abish will get rid of the Yid. Moshe said to the Abish, Mitzrayim is going to hear that after you took with your big koyach the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, that it seemed that you loved these people, and yet and you killed them in one moment. Again, Hashem erech apayim v'rav chesed noisi oven v'fesha v'nake lo yinake poiked avo novas harmonim al shilishim al ripeim slach no lavoyna nazek el chazdech Hashem nosasa lama zem mitzrayim vadheina vayomer Hashem the Eibishter answered salach tiket v'rech v'ulam chai oni v'molach v'ed Hashem skol ha'oretz ki kol ha'noshim areim eskvoid v'soyse asher sisi v'mitzrayim uva midbar. These people that saw my covet, they saw my miracles that I made in Mitzrayim and also in the Midbar. So the Eibishter said that he made a shvua that therefore that they're not going to see it. Okay.
Where's your Shiur?
He's going to come soon. Zog the Mishnah and Parkei Ovis, Perikei, Asor Nisyonis Nisab Senas Amokam Baruch Midbar Shenema, Yenasois is a Eser Pomim V'lo Shamo Bekoidi. They tested Eibishter Eser Pomim. Okay. Sagt Rashi, Vainasu. Vainasu is Kemashmoy. The Esepon. Shnayim Bayam, Shnayim Baman, Shnayim Beslav, Vachulu, Kedis, Mesachas Erechim. As usual, it's a very easy Rashi. Just keep on reading. Let someone else look at Mesachas Erechim. I'm busy. I trust that Rashi looked in the Sichos Erechim. Even though he quotes 6, probably if you look in the Gemara, you'll find 10. What do you think? What do you think? If Rashi quotes 6, you don't think the other 4 is going to be found in the Sichos Erechim?
But why didn't you finish? So why 6? Finish now.
That's the question.
If you already send this, just send the address and that's it.
Either send the address or say all 10. Why are you saying 6? It's very funny. It's very funny. And it's such a kasha.
We learn already so much, so we know that it's but somebody else is like, don't even stop to say 1 second. Why is
exactly? Someone would do whatever.
Like he said, but you also can much more. That's it.
Exactly. What's
What's the
pshat?
We know already how the Rebbe thinking.
Right. That's why I always like to say that Rashi was tired. He didn't have a little. He already wrote 4 of them, 6. He couldn't bother to go up finding Gemara and he forgot the other 4. Wrote 6 and that's it. Because you're talking to 6, what you think? That's for sure.
And we don't know to count. You have to say
Yeah.
Shtayim Bayam, Shtayim, Shtayim.
Yeah, exactly. That's also good to catch it. The Rebbe doesn't ask it, but the Rebbe's beer will answer this kasha too, by the way. Okay. The Rebbe says, in general, there is three big shittas about what are the 10 nisyonis. What are the 10 nisyonis? There are three general shittas. Gemara Erchim, Ovas the Rebbe Nosson, and the Rambam in the Pirush Mishnayos. There's also other shittas, a little ahin al her, but these are the three main shittas that Rebbe says. The Gemara Erchim. Let's do the first. The Gemara Erchim, Ovas the Rebbe Nosson, and the Rambam. Gemara Erchim steht. Tanya. Amar Rabbi Yehuda es nisyonis nisabay sein lakadosh baruch hu. Shnayim bayam, shnayim b'mayim, shnayim b'mon. Shnayim bayam, shnayim b'mayim, shnayim b'mon.
Not like Rashi got.
Exactly. You noticed, exactly. It's one another kasha. Shnayim b'slov, achas ba'egel, achas b'mid b'pon. Shnayim bayam. What was bayam? Achas ba'yerida, v'achas ba'aliyah. Ba'yerida. What was when?
One.
Yeah, the ksiv. Hamebli ain't foreign b'mitzrayim lakachton olamos b'midbar. So they didn't trust the Eibishter could to protect him. The Eibishter proved that he could protect him. The Eibishter split the yam.
They saw what discussed it.
They believed. Okay. Ba'aliyah. Rebbe Huna. Damer Rebbe Huna Yisrael shabois ador mekatne amono hoyu. The Rabbi Vamor, the Rabbi Vamor, might exceed Vayamru alayom, Vayamsu, Vayoshiyim, Laman Shemoy. What's the pshat? Vayamru alayom, Biyamsu. What's the pshat is before the yam. But the pasuk says, Vayamru alayom, Biyam. What was Biyam? What was Vayamru Biyam? The Vayamru was Lifnei Shehigiu Layam, not Biyam. Amalam Choyu Yisrael, Mamrim, Baisa Shav, Emrim. Shem Shana Olam Tzadzek, Ach Matzalem Olam Tzadach. Amalak Kadosh Baruch Hu. V'Sar Shal Yom Ploitos Am Le'Yabasha. So the Eibishter said to the Sar Shal Yam, he should spit out the dead Mitzrim, so the Yidden should see that they're dead. Amar Lafon of the Sar Yam said, Rebbeinu Shel Olam Klum Yeshevet Shenois Noi Rabbi Matona V'Choizere V'Noitloi Mimenu. You gave me all these dead Mitzrim, a Matona. Now you're going to take away the matana? Amar Loi, the Eibishter said, I'll give you 50% more. Give me these dead guys out. Spit them out. And they'll be, when the Yidden will have a fight with Sisera, that they're going to have, instead of Sheish Me'es Elef, it'll be Teisha Me'es Elef, and they're all going to drown in the Yam.
The question is,
I'll give you 50% more.
the question is, Hashem cannot take the bodies.
You see, the Eibush is giving interest.
Why you have to ask the Tsar of the water?
It's a very funny Gemara, but since we're not dealing now with that Gemara, we're just trying to figure out what are the. It's hard enough to figure out what are the 10 nisyonis. But yes, it's true. It's a very funny image. The Eibush Tequila arguing with the Yam. The Yam doesn't want to give it.
You do everything.
The Eibush said, "Don't worry. You give me the 600,000 mamzedim. I'll give you 900,000 mamzedim." Amar Lafona, Rebbeinu Shalom. Klum yesh evet she'toveyes Rabbi. How can I demand? How do I know that you're going to give it to me? I can't come demand. Evet can't demand something. Amar Lo, the Eibush said, "Don't worry. Nachal Kishon yeh orev." Because Nachal Kishon was where the war happened with Sisera, and Nachal Kishon, they're going to make sure. Meyad Polton liyabosha. Ksiv vayar Yisrael Mitzrayim meis. Okay, good. Shnayim b'mayim. What were the two b'mayim? B'mora u'b'refidim. What was it? B'mora the ksiv vayav v'mora oso v'layochol ishtois. And they complained, and they showed them a tree. Vayim teku amoyim. Ksiv vayola no amal moishe b'refidim. The ksiv vayachar men refidim. Emayim lishtos. Ksiv vayorav amal moishe. And that was the story with Iraq. Shnayim b'mon the ksiv al teitzu vayetzu. Al teisiru vayasiru. Shnayim b'slov. What was it? Rishon And Bislav Sheni. Bislav Rishim Shiftachem al Tzir al Basar. Bislav Sheni Vasaftsuf Asher Bekirbe. Then it says the Slav is, it's a question. And Rashi, the way he learns in Pshut Mikra is also seemingly like the Gemara, that there were two different Slav. Because you have in Parshas Shelach that he said, that Rashi said, the Eibishter told Moshe and told Eden that they're going to get Basa Be'erev and Lechem Ba'boike. And why did they get Basa Be'erev? Because it's Loi Beponim Eidus. Because Sha'olo Shaloika Hoigen. Mashen King Lechem, they get in the morning. Because that was Kehoigen. So Rashi's mashma that 40 years the Eden were in desert, every night there was slav that were flying around and they were able to chap and chef slav. Elamai, in the story, the Kivris and Masavim, last week's parsha, they were getting slav. So it's like a triple barbecue. They wanted a lot, a sorach hamorim. They wanted to have shtotoyach tzviv zamachana.
A lot of sauce.
They wanted to have extra. They wanted to have not a regular. So that was the second thing. So according to the Rashi, in Pshuta Shemikir, it's also the way it's in the Gemara and Erchin, that there were two Nisyonis with the Slav. There are opinions, no. There was one story with the Slav. There was no two stories with the Slav. Because in Shelach, when it says that the Eibishter said, I'll give you a Basar Be'erev, we don't find that that Erev Slav came flying. We don't find anything. But Rashi Taka learns, and it's mashma from Rashi, the Kol Arboim Shalom Shal Yisrael B'Midbar, that they would get Slav Ba'erev, and they would get Mam Ba'boike. And in the next week's parasha, with Kirvas and Masavim, was they wanted extra Slav. Okay? So two separate Nisyonis. The Egel, Kedisa, Egel, we don't have to explain what the Egel Azov is. B'Midbar Poron, and is the Meraglim, Kedisa, is that what we're dealing with over here? That's okay. That's the Gemara in Erech. Then there is Avaz de Rebnos.
Even in the Gemara, when the Gemara starts telling about Rabbi Yehuda Hassan, you know, but when the Gemara said, they don't say they say that what they said that.
Shnaim Bayam. Then there was Shnaim Bamayim. Bamam. No, it's the same. You have a flow.
Yam, Mayim, Mansh, Slav, Egel, and
It starts with Yam, then it was Mayim, then it was Mon, then it was Slav.
Egel and Midbar.
Yeah, Egel and Midbar. Yeah, no, it's good. The Gemara Tag is good. Zogte weiter, Ovas der Rebnosan. Asar in the Sion is Nisa Kadosh Baruch Hu, so we saying. V'chulun lo nimtzu shleimi. Eibishter tested the. It's funny. The way the Rebnosan learns it. The Eibishter tested. I mean, L'choyre, it's fakir.
Impossible.
Right.
The 10 one, the Eibishter, please.
Right. Ve'elohein. Bamidbar, Ba'arava, Mulsuf, Bein Poran and Bein Teufel, V'lavam V'chatzeres V'adizov. That's the first two psukim in Dvar. Bamidbar Shosas Egel. Shnemar V'osalam Egel Masei. V'arava Alamayim. Shnemar V'yitzma'am Lamayim. Mulsuf means Himru Alayam Suf. Rabbi Yehuda Hime Himru Alayam, Himru B'techiyam. That Shnemar Bayam Ralayam Bayams Ben Poron is Ben Meraglim. This Ishlach has emotion Midvar Poron. Ein Teufel El Divritif Lashotaf Lamon Velovin Zo Machloitish Okoira Katzeres Slav Reshiva Makmach Oime Batevaira Bemasa Bekivris Ataiva. Okay. So then it says the always that Rebnosan stellt sich on the posuk on the beginning of Dvarim and teaches that the 10 things over there are the 10 things we're talking about over here. what's happening? Obviously, Reb Nosson brings in Chet HaMesoinenim, which the Gemara doesn't have. The Mesoinenim is last week in the Parsha, after the Hidden Tzaorim, Mesoinenim Rabba Uzna Hashem, and all of a sudden there was Vateitze Eish, and then Moshe Rabbeinu was Mispal Vatishko Eish. So that Mesoinenim the Gemara doesn't mention, and obviously Reb Nosson does mention. Ma'aseh Koirach, the Gemara doesn't mention Ma'aseh Koirach, and Reb Nosson does mention it. Tafla Lamon. So the Gemara doesn't mention it, and the obviously Reb Nosson mentioned it. Tafla Lamon is a huge story in Pashas Chukas that the Veidaber Hamba Lakim b'Moshe Lama L'Tzonim Mitzrayim v'Nafsheinu Kotze Balach Lakloikel v'Yishlach Hashem b'Omes HaNachoshim, right? And then the Nachoshim was a big story with the Nachoshim and the Nachoshes, right? So these three stories are all three juicy stories. And the Gemara is Zaktish Kenvart. And the Obvious Reb Nosson does bring it. What does the Obvious Reb Nosson knock out? So it takes out Mayim B'Mora. It takes out one of the Nisayon is by Yam, and one of the Nisayon is by Mon. It seems pretty more juicy. Reb Nosson has, okay, he says the older Nisayon is by Yam were one, and older Nisayon is by Mon is one. And the Mayim B'Mora he doesn't mention. But on the other hand, he has another three very juicy Chatoim. The Chet HaMesoinenim, the Chet HaKoirach, and the Tafel Olamon. Okay. Then there's a third shit. The third shit is the Rambam. The Rambam says, it's all befedish in the Pasuk. Rishon al Yamsov, Ba'omram hamebli ein kvarim b'Mitzrayim, habeiz b'Mora, u'omra v'ilonu al Moshe l'mamanishta. Be'agimel b'Midbar Sin, shebikshu Amon, v'omru mi yitei Museina b'Yad Hashem, hadalad merisam b'aniach Hamon min ad haboiker, v'omra v'yisiru anoshim ad haboiker. Hey, Mamarism, the Viksham Isa be Mashabas, Mashanamar, the Hebrew Mashvi, the Yitzim Ram Luke, Vov, but if feed them Alamayim Gamke. They complained for the mine. And then Moshe hit the rock, Zayim, the Chodev, Maisegel, Kasbat Haveda, Bioisim, Supakim, Makam, Hub, Amrim, Misoinanim. There was a fire because they were Misoinanim, but Abbas Nashem. Omra v'yam k'misoinim tes b'kibris hatayva v'ikshma bosar Omra v'savshe sheb'kibris havatayva yud b'mitzvah poron b'nyan meraglim shamnema v'naso isim ze eseponim v'lashamu b'kor. Okay, so these are the 10 Nisyonis according to the Rambam. So what did the Rambam do?
He took out some of the lesson and he put...
Everyone is mixing up a little bit. So according to the Rambam, he added the Chet HaMesoinenim. He also added the fact that he didn't ask for one, and he takes out one Nisayon by the Yam, and he takes out one Nisayon by the Slav, which is a very easy thing to do, to say that everything on the Yam is one, and everything by the Slav is one. B'chlal, like I said before, who says there were two stories by Slav? Who says B'chlal there was two stories by Slav? And by Yam, who says there were two stories? It's a medrash. And he's saying Bakosim, Busuk Shtayt, he wants to see clearly. Okay. Rashi goes with the Gemara. Okay. The fact that the Rashi didn't say like Ovis de Reb Nosson, the Rebbe says that's easy. That's easy. Why he didn't say Ovis de Reb Nosson? Okay, one second. Why he didn't say Ovis de Reb Nosson is easy. Obviously, Reb Nosson brings in Ma'aseh Koirach and Tafel Alamon. It's a Zeyashveh, you got to go with a Medrash. What are we dealing with here? We're dealing with the Meraglim. Pashas Koirach comes before the Meraglim or after the Meraglim? Sure. Koirach? Alois Chosh Shelach Koirach. Koirach comes after the Meraglim.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So, the Eibush is talking now, and he says, "Vayenaso oisas es upon him v'losham b'koili." So what are you talking about? And the same thing, the other Nisayon which you're talking to me about, which is Tofla Laman, which is Nachash and Achoshes, the story of Nachash and Achoshes, the Pashas Chukas is later. So Medrash, whatever, it's the Eivisha knew what's going to happen. You could say all kinds of things. But we in Pshuta Shemikra, we usually don't say unless we have a reason to say it. Like you don't say, oh, Koilach happened before the Meraglim. Why? You don't say that. You say first happened the Meraglim, then I'm Koilach. You could prove it otherwise. Okay, I'll tell you. So for Rashi to go like the Ovis of Nosson is a no-brainer. He's not going to go like the Ovis of Nosson because the two juicy stories they're very juicy stories. The story of Nachash and Achoshes and Ma'aseh Koilach, but they happened later. So what are we talking about it now? But and also this that Rashi didn't say like the Rambam, the Bakoshes Amon, that is one of these 10 things, because Rashi already said many times that they asked for the mon was kahoigen. Lechem shesholu kahoigen. They needed to eat. They were hungry. Okay. So Rashi already emphasized many times that lechem shalu kahoigen. So if there was kahoigen, how could you tell me? It's very funny to say that shalu kahoigen, and then it's one of the 10 nisyonis. It was shalu kahoigen. One kasha that asks. There was the Chet HaMisoinen happened in Baloischa, which happened before the Meraglim. And that was a big Chet. After the Hibin Soya for already almost a year by Midbar Sinai. They traveled for 3 days, and all of a sudden, Lahiyam K'Misoinen B'Rab Oz Hashem, and there was a fire, Vatishka Esha.
It was Erev Ra, right? Did we turn it?
No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say. Asaf Suf Hashem Akiva was by the slog. It was by the slog, but not here. And people complained. So that was a big fat chait. That was a real chait. On the other hand, the chait about the second chait when there were oilam and ayam is never mentioned the Ferish Bekra. It's a Medrash Chazal. Never. Adara. But Rashi says that the Polten ayam al asvosek the shelo yom nisrok shein shalom like didn't with the Eibush did them a favor, and it's not mashma
that they asked for it.
And in Pshuta Shel Mikra, there's no pasuk that says that. That's why the Rambam doesn't count it. The Rambam says, "I want to bring you 10 psukim."
The Rambam said,
right.
Only what the pasuk says.
Mm-hmm. The Rambam says exactly. This that when they went out of the Yam, is a pasuk in Tehillim, it's not a pasuk in Torah, and it's a drash. So why can't Rashi learn that one of the 10 nisyonis, this that Rashi doesn't learn the story of Koida, the Nachash and Achoshes? I understand that happened later. This that Rashi didn't learn that they asked for Mon. I understand. L'sholu kahoigen. But Misoinanim, that was a big fat gate. And on the other hand, this that they complained in the Yamsuf going out is never a pasuk. It's a drash. So why can't you flip it? Why don't you count Misoinanim and don't count the second one alayam? You can't count both because Rashi holds it was 10. The Amifashim hold 10 is lavdafka, could be 12, 13. Okay, it doesn't make a difference. But it seems that Rashi holds that 10 is kipshuta. So you have to take one out and put one in. So put in the Misoinanim and take out on the way out of the Yamsuf. That's the Rebbe's kasha. Okay. And Bechlal, it's funny because Rashi in Devorim says very close to Ovis the Reb Nosson. When he says, he does say like the Ovis the Reb Nosson. Okay, so this,
he caught
yeah, it's a little funny. So the Rebbe has a beard. Yeah, what's going on? Okay, so the beard is Azai. It says, like you mentioned before, it actually says Ve'inasu means Kimashmoy. What is it actually trying to say, Ve'inasu Kimashmoy? What else would Yinasu mean? So the Meforshim say, because there is Meforshim that learn, Yinasu means the Eibishter get angry. Usually Nisayon means a test. But sometimes it can mean kas, it's a Loshen kas. The Eibush, they could say, they made me angry. So therefore Rashi says, no, Nisvayanasu means they tested me. They tested me. They tested me. Oh, they tested. They tested me. Now we understand why he couldn't say Vayim Rabba's Hashem was a test. Rashi says, what is the word misoinanim? What is a misoinanim? What is the word misoinanim? Rashi says, B'shimshin Oimer Toyenu ki toyenu mevakish. What is it? Toyenu mevakish. You want to marry a girl, a shiksa. So the parents said to him, Lama tzarich et zeh? There's no, I ain't daibet noisis at all. You need to have a ugly shiksa over there, a Palestinian over there from Gaza. Take a good girl from Tel Aviv. Go somewhere in Ramat Gan and find yourself a good girl. And the pasuk says they didn't realize that it was Toyenu Mevakish. He was trying to make trouble for the people in Gaza. He married the girl, and then the father does, and then he said, "Oh, you took away my girl." He got very angry. He took the foxes, the 300 foxes. He tied their tails, and he put a fire in their tails, and they went running all over Gaza, and they made fires all over Gaza. Sigan Lebedik, on and on and on. Then he hit Sheik Al Yorech. He said, "Yo, what do you mean? You started up with me. You took away my wife." So it was Toyna aim of action, right? Toyna aim of action. Rashi says the same thing over here. It wasn't. They were walking for 3 days. What big deal? It was just Rashi says Alila ha'eich lifresh ma'choyre amok. That's what Rashi says. It was Alila. It was just above a Maisi. So according to Rashi, the story of Vahiyah Omkim Nesoinim, it wasn't a test. They were not testing the Eibishter. The Yinasu Oisi means they tested me. What does it mean, tested me? Not Hirgizu. It means that they have a Chalishus Namuna. Like, could you provide? Nisayon. They have a Chalishus. That's why is the Egel one of the Asar Nisayonis? They didn't ask any questions. They didn't ask anything by the Eibishter. By the other things they asked, could you give us mon? Could you give us water? Could you give us salvin? Could you give us meat?
By the Egel, they said, this is...
Oh, there was a chisoron in the Amunah.
Can you give us Moshe?
It was a chisoron in the Amunah. Nisayon means not yichisu oisi. The nasu oisi means they tested me. They don't believe I'm strong enough. They don't believe I'm trustworthy enough. They don't believe when I tell them something that I say what I mean and I mean what I say. It's a chisoron in the Amunah. By Vayiyom Kimesoinim Rabba Ozne Hashem, it wasn't a test. It wasn't in of Amunah. They believed. Never mind. They decided to kvetch Toyneim Avakshim, because that's the word Kimesoinim. That's the meaning. The word Misoinen means they're kvetching. They're looking for an excuse. They're looking for a way out of the deal. They're looking for a way out of the deal. Toyneim Avakshim. Therefore, Rashi could not learn, like the Rambam, that Misoinim was one of the 10. He couldn't learn that Misoinim is, if you say Misoinim, if you say Misoin means chaos, yeah, for sure. The Eibishter was very bekas. But to say that the Misoinim was a Chesar Namunah was not a Chesar Namunah. Nothing to do with the Amunah. It's zero to do with the Amunah. Therefore Rashi cannot count it. The Shaila is for it. Why can't Rashi learn over here Nisoyon means pass? Because that's if you read the pasuk, the Eibush is angry. Because the Eibush says, Ulam chai oni imola kvod Hashem es kol haaretz, kol anoshim aroim es kvod v'sosayis shisi b'mitzrayim, u'v'amidbar v'yinas oisa zeh parm v'lashem v'kolim, yirus haaretz shenishbati lavoisan, v'chom manatzeh lo yoruos, v'avdi kol eis ekev, oisa ruach acheres imoy, v'yimala acharai, v'yosef ala haaretz asher b'sham v'zari yishena. It sounds like the Eibush is angry. So why can't you say it means anger? Why have to say that it means testing? So the Rebbe says that's why you have to look at the general what's going on in the Psukim. You have to look in general what's going on in the Psukim. There's two big kashas that a child would have if he's reading the Psukim. Eibishter says he wants to kill all the Jews, Rahman al-Islam. Moshe Rabbeinu has no Other times he says, Zecher labadecha, labrom, Yitzchak, Yaakov. No, it's nothing to say. What's the goyim, the Egyptians, what are they going to say? Who cares what the Egyptians are going to say? The only thing to save the Jewish people, what are the Egyptians going to say? Where's Avram? Where's Yitzchak? Where's Yaakov? Where's Torah? Where's Mitzvahs? Where's the Shvatim? Where's Reuven? Where's Shimon? Where's Yosef? Nothing. One thing. There's only one reason to save the Jews. What are the Egyptians going to say? It's very funny. And another thing, the Eibusha says, Salachti kidvarecha. Okay? So Moshe Rabbeinu should say, have a nice day. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. No, doesn't stop. The Eibusha, after he says, Salachti kidvarecha, so it's all over. No, it's not over. That they're going to be punished. But the Eibusha just said, Salachti kidvarecha. What does slicha mean? Forgive. It's over. Forget about it. It's not forget about it. They're getting punished. So what's going on? So therefore, in order, these two are very strong kashas. Rashi says like this. When the Yidden are going into Yisrael, that was not a punishment. That was not a punishment. It's not a punishment. It was not a punishment. It was a natural thing. Why? When the Meraglim came and they said, did they lie? Did the Meraglim lie? No. They said the emes. They said the emes. That going into Eretz Yisrael, you have to have betochen chozak and yechelus Hashem. And even though you have to believe the Eibusha can take you in b'derech neis. That's what Kolev said. Alikor lonu es hayom, v'hoirid lonu es hamon, v'hegiz lonu es aslov, ol l'nai lafilu b'shamayim, v'oimer asu solomas v'alu l'shamayim, natzliach v'chol dvarav. Is it a davar TV to take solomas and to go into Shamayim? No. What did Kolev say? Kolev said that don't worry, we can do it. We trust in the Eibush, and the Eibush is going to make miracles. The Meraglim said no. So the Eibush said, listen, now they don't deserve special miracles. So to go into Eretz Yisrael is dangerous because b'derech hateva, if you think that the little nation of Jewish people,
you can't do it.
b'derech hateva, you cannot do it. B'derech nes, you could do it. So therefore, they couldn't go in anymore to Eretz Yisrael. It's just like because the Yidden, the only way the Yidden to go into Eretz Yisrael to be matzliach is with big miracles, not small miracles, big miracles. Sky, we're going into the sky with solomas, big miracles. If you don't believe, how's it going to work? B'derech hateva, it's not going to work. The Jewish people are not going to succeed b'derech hateva. So when the Eibusha said, Akenu, so Moshe Rabbeinu said, why? Because they don't believe in you, right? But there'll be a bigger choiser amunah that's going to come into the whole world. All the goyim are going to say that you can't trust in the Eibusha. So therefore, the Eibusha said, okay, you know what? Salachti kidvarecha. The Eibusha said that it's a chisaron amunah. So there's going to be a bigger chisaron amunah. The Eibusha said, Salachti kidvarecha.
Why? Moshe Rabbeinu was worried about Kvod Hashem.
You understand? He said, the Eibusha said, there's not going to be any amunah. The Yidden have no amunah. So the Moshe Rabbeinu said, you're going to make that the whole world should not have amunah. So the Eibusha said, okay, Salachti kidvarecha. But the only thing was that the oynish of a mata ki ish echod, to kill them all ki ish echod, that was wiped away. It wasn't going to be any more of a mata ki ish echod. A mata ki ish echod? That wasn't going to happen. A mata ki ish echod. But the Yidden can't conquer Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because the only way to conquer Eretz Yisrael is with a miracle. And they don't believe in the miracle. So how are they going to conquer Eretz Yisrael? The only way they're going to conquer is through a miracle. Now we understand why Rashi holds that Vayinasu Oisi doesn't mean anger. The whole discussion of here was, do they have emunah? Do they have emunah in me? The Eibusha said that you can't go into Eretz Yisrael b'derech hateva. They're right. The Meraglim are right. The only way you're going to go in is b'derech nes. And because they didn't believe in the nes, so they're not going to have a nes. So if they're not going to have a nes, it's dangerous to go into Eretz Yisrael. so they can't go into Eretz Yisrael. Rashi learns Vayinasu Oisi doesn't mean anger. It means kipshutim. Vayinasu, there was a chalishus in Amuna. They did not have Amuna in the Eibishter, and because it was a chalishus in Amuna, they didn't believe the Eibishter could make big miracles. If the Eibishter can't make big miracles, how are they going to go into Eretz Yisrael? The only way to succeed was with big miracles. That's why it's the Rebbe that Rashi is quoting Shnayim Bayam, Shnayim Baman, Shnayim Baslov. Dafken these things, Shnayim Bayam, Shnayim Baman, Shnayim Baslov, you see this unbelievable thing. Why? Because in these three things you see Adova V'Yipucha. Sometimes you say, you made a little miracle. The Eibishter said, the Eibishter said, maybe you're going to make a little miracle. They're not going to believe. You know what? I'll give you a second miracle. I'll make a third miracle bigger than the first two put together. Okay? So if someone doesn't believe because the miracle is too small, mashke daf machen shikker. And if geworden shikker, give him noch a bissel mashke. Geld daf machen meshuge. Noch nicht meshuge, give him noch a bissel geld. They're saying in Yiddish, the three things must work. Mashke must make you drunk. He's not drunk, give him a little more mashke. Money must make a person crazy. He's not crazy yet. Give him a little more money, he'll become crazy. So he sees oysters, he has to believe. He doesn't believe, give him a couple more oysters. Over here, the Eibishter said that it's not even going to work. It's these people, b'shas they see oysters and moifsim, they're still testing me. This is crazy, says the Eibishter. That was in the 10 Nisyonis. Was this? Where was it most seen? In the first six. In these ones, which is Bayam, Baman, or Beslav. Because why? Bayam, the Eibishter should just split the Yam. So you're worried that the Mitzrayim are going to come out behind you on the other side? It's the Meshigetz Eptos. When before they came, you could say, the Eibishter did 10 makkos. You don't believe that the Eibishter could do another miracle? We saw 10 amazing miracles, but maybe one more miracle is too hard for him. He's getting weak. He's getting older. He could go to the gym and he could lift weights more than all the Geborim put together. But after a while, he gets tired. So how could you expect him to do more? Okay, sure, Shagas. But while he's doing the miracle, he split the Yam. And Vayamru Bayom B'Yamsuf. That Shaz, they're in the Yam, they're saying, maybe the Rebbeinu Shalom couldn't figure out a way to save us and to kill them. Maybe he can only figure out a way, a one-way road. We all go out.
Only busy with saving us.
And maybe the Rebbeinu Shalom can't figure out how to do it. They're oivei, we're worried. How could you be worried when the Eibishter just did such an unbelievable miracle that he split the Yam? So don't you think that the Rebbeinu Shalom could figure out a way that you're going to be saved and the Mitzrayim will not? So that was the thing that brought out that Vayinasu Oisi. And another thing, the same thing was in the second thing, Baman. The Eibishter gives you man. Chabriya Chadosha never exists in this world. It's Lechem Min HaShamayim. Now the Eibishter says there's certain rules. Al Yasirim Menot Boiker, and Shabbos the Eibishter is not going to. So the Selba Eibishter that tells you that I'm going to give you man tells you Shabbos is not going to be. So why is it that people are going out Shabbos morning and looking for the man? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? You're not looking for a bottle of Coca-Cola. You're looking for man. But the Rebbeinu Shalom that's giving man said that in Shabbos there's not going to be man. So how could you sadova v'yipuchay? What are you looking for? They went out Shabbos morning looking. What are you looking for? They're not looking for Be'er Mayim Seltzer. They're looking for man. But the Eibishter said there's not going to be man. So what are you looking for, man? It's sadova v'yipuchay.
Like the Galab that Kolev, the Eberstein says, Chof-Gimmel. You said the Shalom.
Exactly. And then the Slav is also, according to Rashi, like we said before, that for 40 years there was Slav.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden you say, Rebbeinu Shalom, I understand, give Slav. Maybe the miracle of Slav is only, a couple of little birdies here and there. Mamish, could you make that there should be like a lot of Slav? What can a Nara Shakashi does? If the Eibishter for 40 years could make that every evening there should come a couple of Slav, can he make a few more Slav should come? So it's a dovavi puche. It's a dovavi puche. Really, all the 10 nisyonis were that way. But these 6 nisyonis bring out more than the other 4. That it's a dovavi puche.
That's why
That's why Rashi says Shnayim. The Ikar that Rashi wants to say that he's going with the Mahalach and the Gemara Erechim. Not like the Ovid Zereb Nasan and not like the Rambam. The Ikar he wants to say that. And that's why, because the Rambam says V'yinasu doesn't mean they angered me. V'yinasu means they tested me. There's a chisoron in the Emunah. And why does Rashi have to say that it's all about Emunah? Because this is the whole discussion over here. The whole Pasha Shelach Meraglim is that the Meraglim said Ki chozakum imenu, that the Eibishter himself can't do it. And the Kolev said, no, all in Nala, Afilo Emelon Ulasa Solomas, we could go up to the heaven. So what really, the deaf were talking to the blind. There was Shvanandigere. Everyone agreed that B'derech HaTeva is not going to happen. Everyone agreed B'derech HaTeva, it is going to happen. So what was the problem? That there was V'inasu Oisi Zes Epomim V'lo B'koili. I'm making miracles, and they don't believe. We're going out while they're in the Yam. Maybe I could make a miracle to do the Kizayam, but I could make Mon, but I could give Slav, but not enough. Maybe should said that's crazy. The only way they can go into Eretz Yisrael is if they have full Amunah. The Jewish people are small people. The only way we're going to succeed against our enemies is through big miracles. And how are the big miracles going to come? Through having Amunah. And that's the only way it's going to happen. So it's unbelievable. Ashgacha Pratis, that this is the Sicha. This is the Sicha where we're going to learn tonight. This is not because of what's happening in Eretz Yisrael, because this is what we're going to learn anyway. But now we see that the Rebbe says that the lesson from this is that sometimes the Eibusha shows us miracles. So we have to be very, very careful and very quick to point out the miracles and to celebrate the miracles and to thank the Eibusha for the miracles and to show the world that this is miracles and not chas v'sholom that we think oh, well, we believe that it happens from the Eibusha. Now we have to point it out very quickly. But we need a lot of miracles. So we want, it says that the Eibusha should say, it says I didn't influence. So just like going out of Mitzrayim, it was told in Yiddish Amunah, the biggest chesaron in Shelach, the whole Parshas Meraglim was a chesaron in Amunah. Had they had Amunah, they would have had Nisim Gedolim. So therefore, the tikkun for that is that as soon as we see a miracle from the Eibishter, that we metans to mazin, and we understand that this is a miracle nachesed Hashem, and that makes us a keli to get even bigger miracles. So the Eibishter halfim that we should be makir. Tonight, one of the things that was in the news is that in Kiryat Gat there was a huge piece of shrapnel that fell from the sky, and it hit a shul, a Bet Knesset, and a few cars near the Bet Knesset, and there was a fire. And the firemen came and they put out the fire, and what turned out was that Baruch Hashem no one was hurt. The Sefer Torah, even though the wall behind the Sefer Torah cracked and opened up, but the Sefer Torah was standing there b'shleimus.
Once it looks so.
Yeah, one Sefer.
What about the other?
I think they only had one Sefer Torah. That's what they said.
It was the only one?
They only had one Sefer Torah. Yeah, Sephardi Sefer Torah. You see in the picture, it's
also in Ramat Gan where the rocket fell on Friday night. There's a store for selling a Judaica store. everything was burned, but the jacket store, nothing happened.
Oh, yeah?
No,
Wow.
even the window don't break.
Wow. So
Oh,
David said,
listen.
the nemesis,
Listen, listen,
the unbelievable listen. I mean, they said
I'm
that
thinking
this
about
guy,
that.
that
By
they say the people over there in the head, they're insulted. Anyone in the military, in the top, say, how come the Israel didn't assassinate them? Shema Mino, that they're not really that they're not considered worthy. Anyone that was not assassinated is insulted.
my son, and he's still not my focus.
Yeah,
I just saw the two non focus is missing.
listeners, having listeners,
Friday was missing.
having listeners.
What the Mossad doing in Iran?
Yeah,
Mossad was there from inside.
from inside.
The
Yeah,
building, they had a factory building drones
So,
next to all the bases, and before the plane came, all the drone flew and bombed all the rockets, so they couldn't hit the plane. So we're flying like free. The time, they know exactly what time to start. And in Iran, they're building all this. Now they're showing on television in Iran. They found a factory. It's like, how they did it. But they bothered them that inside of us, they know. And they know exactly which building and which floor 10 people are get together, you know. And it's all at the same time. It's 2 a.m. and a minute and 50 seconds. Like, you have about 100 planes that shooting at the same time, the same targets. It's miracles.
Somebody said it take 100 years, the intelligence from all over the world to learn what happened this week, what the Israeli did. Because every country has intelligence, and they're learning what was before. So he said, 100 years they will learn what happened.
There's 200 rockets that they did, and 100 did, so look at the damage that they did.
Right.
I'm sure what could happen at 200 of them.
Right.
But it is 200. Each plane has mission. Nobody did the other mission. Each one is a target. You're going here, you're going here. That's it. It's unbelievable.
L'chaim, we're thanking the Eibusher for miracles, and we're asking for the Eibusher to give it a full shleima for Chaim Tzvi, Ben Kana,